Alright, so welcome back. Now we want to add a new project which is going to represent the unit test project. So right here in my solution, I'll right click on that and I'll go to add. So here we can see new project. So I'm going to click on that. So this will allow me to select the unit test. So I'm going to look for the unit test and select that. So don't forget that we are using the console app.NET Core. So I will go down. So right here, you can see the MS Test project.NET Core. So which is a project that contains MS Test unit test that can run on .NET Core on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. So I'm going to select this one now. Then I'll click on Next. So right here, we have the project name. I want to change this project name to something that will make sense to my project. So since we have the calculator, so what I'm going to do is to call this calculator dot unit test. Then I'll click on create. So this creates the unit test for me. So we can see that here. So we have this decorators test class, which represent that we want to test this class actually. And right here we can see that we have this test method decorator on top of this method. So what we want to do now is to make sure that we have uh, a good name for this one instead of using the unit test one. So what I'm going to do is to follow the name that I have in my class right here. So which is going to be calc test. So this is what I want to change this one to now. So I'm going to say this one is going to be changed to calc test. So the next thing I want to think about is the method. So right here we can see that we have the test method one. So this is not what I want, right? Because I have different methods in my application. So I have add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So if I go back right here, so the first thing I want to do is to make sure I change this to add. And what I want to do is that I need a scenario. And this scenario is going to be that I want to be able to add numbers, right? So I'm going to say numbers. Then I also want to have the expected result, right? So in this case, hard numbers returns true. So this is what I'm expecting. So whenever I add this number, then I should be able to know that the actual value returns the true with the expected value. So that means if they are equal, then that should be fine with everything that I want to do here. So this is going to be the first test. And inside this method, we need to define how we want to test this particular method that we have in our class right here. So which is the hard method. This one is returning the first value plus the second value. So if I go back to my test, so right here, I can also rename this one to be calc test actually. So if I go back to my test, right here we can see that inside this method, I need to do some things. So there are three steps that we want to follow. The first one is going to be the arrange. The second one is the hat. And the third one is the assert. So these are the three steps that we want to follow. So the first step now is that we want to make sure that we are expecting a value. So I'm going to create the type of the value that we're expecting with a variable. So here I'm going to say the double expected. So which is going to be equal to something that we are not sure yet. So I'm going to leave that. So what we want to do now is that we want to create the uh, we want to create the class object. So here I'm going to say I need the object, which is the instance of the class that we want to test. So here we call it calc actually. So here we want to have the new calc. So which is going to be equal to uh, passing in the parameters. So right here, let's say we have the double 10.0, and the next one, let's say we have 2.0. So right here we can see that this calc is not seen. So Let's try to see. So we can't find it here. So the best way to fix that is to come to the dependency. So we can right click on that. Then we add project reference. So here we can see the calculator. So we can click on that. Then we click on OK. So now we are able to find this particular calc that we have here. So now that we have our calc and we have the values passed in, so one thing that we want to check now, which is going to be coming under heart. So let's go there. So right here, it's going to be that we want to check, we want to get the result from this calc, right? So we want to be able to use this calc to get to our heart method. So let's say we have the calc, which is the instance of the class, dot heart. So here we can see the heart method. So right after the heart method, we want to do the assert. So how do we assert this case? So we know that by the time we had 10 plus 2 together, we're expecting 12 here. So let's say here we are expecting 12, which is going to be the expected value. So under the assert case, what we can do now is to make sure that we are able to have the assert dot are equal. So we want to check if the expected value is actually equal to the actual value. So the actual value is the one that we calculate right here, and this is the value that we are expecting. So right here, I'm going to say expected, comma, actual. So this is the actual value. So it will make sense to actually change this to actual. So the actual value, the expected value, if they are equal, then this test should pass. So this is the first thing we want to do. So if we run this test now, we can see if everything is working fine. So running the test. So we can see that one passed. So the test passed successfully. So the next thing we want to do is to also create for the second method, so which is the subtract method. So I can just copy this method and make some few changes, right? So right here, I'll copy that. I'll come down right here, paste that. And here, we want to change this to subtract and not add. So let's say we have this value and this value. So definitely we are expecting 8, right? So we should know that. And since we are expecting it, we are going to call the subtract method this time around. So subtract. And in this case, we compare the expected value and the actual value. So whatever the result is, we are going to check with our test. Let's see. So we can see that we have 2 passes. And the next thing that we would like to do is to have the next method, which is going to be the multiply method. So here we have multiply. And now that we have multiply, so we know that by the time we multiply 10 by 2, we should be expecting 20. So let's change this to 20. And here we are going to change the method now to multiply. So right here, we want to also check that the expected value and the actual value are equal. So let's try to run and see if this test pass. So we can see 3 passed. So the next thing we want to do is to also have the same way for the divide method. So I'm going to copy this one and come down right here, paste that. So here we're going to change that to the divide method. So right here, we want to change this to divide method. So now, if we divide 10 by 2, so we are expecting the result to be 5. So here, we are going to run it again and see what happens to our test. Good. So we can see that the 4 tests passed. So this is cool. This is the way you can think about how to write your test cases. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial. If you really enjoy this tutorial, please give a like to this tutorial. Thank you very much. See you next time.